hearing different views, and becoming more and more involved in what's going on in the community, and right now, especially with these lockdowns and people hurting on all fronts, right?
Straight up. All right, so let me get started here. Welcome to the Parley, Real People, Real Talk. I got a special guest today, Mr. Kru Steve Lee, owner and operator of Redemption Muay Thai in Bowmanville. Thank you for making time to do this, man. I appreciate it.
No, man, thanks for having me, man. It was really cool when you asked me to do it. So,
Oh, of course, man. I recognize the hustle. You've been a very strong Muay Thai gym in the area for years. A lot of good fighters that come from your school. A lot of good martial artists come from your school. And to be honest with you, when I first walked in and asked to have a place to call a home and do my thing, the atmosphere and the way I was received I was very much appreciated. It's nice to be in a gym that you can see it's about the art and it's about personal growth and it's not just about making bank. So no, I appreciate that.
No, I really appreciate that. I mean, we try our best to, hold that strong, right? So, I mean, the majority of everyone who steps into the gym is a martial artist, wants to be a martial artist. We build fighters, but I think we build a lot of different types of characters, if you will, So you coming in the gym just, added to the overall experience and the overall like level that we try to have at the place. So, thank you for coming.
Oh, it's more than my pleasure. Speak to me on how did you get started in well, first off, I know there's a martial arts journey there because anybody who's been around it long enough has gone through multiple arts and multiple adversity and challenges. But what is it? Because you're a young guy, right? You got a young, successful business. This is something I think a lot of other people should aspire to. That it is possible. That with good work ethic and passion and desire, it's achievable. Speak to me on what made you decide you wanted to open up a gym and how did that process go for you?
I've been doing martial arts since 1990. So it's been a long time. I was a small kid when I started. Actually, I started because I was being bullied at school. Came home, told my dad, this guy beat me up. My dad said, "What? You couldn't do anything to him?" And we
different generation,
Indian dad, Asian West Indian dad turns around and just says, couldn't do anything to him. I still remember him saying that to me, right? So I was like, "Dad, he's huge," like we talked about it and stuff. And he signed me up for martial arts like practically the same time. We ended up, going through Taekwondo, really good gyms. At the time, we were at Taekwondo Elite with Master Troy White, and then branched off to WTF with Master Tony at AT Martial Arts. And it's just been a huge ride where that martial arts concerned, right? So I think around 18, 19, I was probably thinking, what am I going to do with myself? Wanted to open up a gym, always wanted to open up a gym, but more as a dream, right? We don't really take it as something that you can do. And then got a job at IBM. I started working there. And then they had that huge kind of layoff, right? At the time, my first partner, he pretty much said, we got kicked out at Platinum. We were working out at Platinum. And we ended up... No, we were in Whitby at the time.
Shit.
Yeah, I actually was teaching martial art at a gym called Silent Tiger. It was on Simpson. I was asked by a really good friend that grew me up in martial arts to help out that gym. So I was going there and teaching. And that's actually how we ended up opening in Bowmanville, was because we ended up teaching a lot of people in the community, and they were constantly urging, we really want to do Muay Thai, we really want to, get involved in that. Can you do something, right? And at the time, we didn't really take it seriously. But when we got kicked out of Platinum, we decided that, let's get a place and let's try our best to kind of make it work. So we ended up going under this Chinese restaurant, Chinese Dragon. I had actually went through 3 different partners before I 2 different partners actually, and then my third partner came on board and decided that, you know, we were going to do this, right? So we ended up opening in 2007. You know, and it's just been a massive ride ever since. It's been really cool putting in all the work to try to build this this thing. So it's been pretty cool.
That's dope, because at 18 years old, I was going to court. You know, I had no idea what the fuck I was going to do with myself. Uh, I think that's brilliant. You know, when you know what you want to do and you have an objective, I think it makes you have the ability to focus your energy properly and get the most out of it.
Now, disclaimer: I didn't open it at 18.
But like you knew, you already knew.
Yeah, no, I had an idea that that's something that I really wanted to do, but it wasn't until we were caught against the wall that we actually made the opportunity and the jump to go do it realistically. And we just felt that, like, you know, especially for myself, a lot of my education is involved in martial arts or in health or some level of fitness, you know, something, right? So we've been involved in that world for such a long time that it only made sense to go there and start, at least try to do it, so we could say we did.
So when did that pen hit the paper and you signed a lease and Redemption Muay Thai was born? What year was that?
2007. We were originally called Round One Martial Arts, but we didn't know that there was a Round One Martial Arts in London at the time. So we had opened up, we got the sign, we got everything. When we really became legit, we decided to go and figure out everything, I guess. And then when we found out, we had to change it. So I came up with the name Redemption. We put up this big sign outside on Highway 2, downtown Bowmanville. Everyone, I think, thought it was like a church because Redemption
It is a church.
Always, you know, affiliated with, you know, some type of church type of thing. So, but we had this big, huge Muay Thai sign, and we started getting some really, really top guys, man. Like, you know, our first student was Kru Rob Reed from, he has his own gym out in Muay Thai Whitby.
Yeah.
You know, guys like, who else was there? Oh, Hatfield, Jeff Hatfield, one of the top guys. He was like our second guy through there. Joseph Bigger, you know, Matt Northcott. So it's been like really cool, like to see all these guys come in. And it was just like a massive wave of guys started to come, you know, like a couple of years later, one of our guys that we have now, Jake Mackenzie, he came on board in like 2009. Chad Glover, you know, guys that, you know, were like people knew in the town started to come and be part of the Muay Thai experience, I guess. So 14 years ago, man, is a long time. So
yeah, man. Well, that just speaks to what you have, you know, like when you have retention and you have and you build a community, I think that's the most important thing. I mean, you know, it's good to have champions and stuff like that, but really, like, I've been to a lot of gyms and I judge the merit of a gym on their community ecosystems.
For sure.
If you don't have that in the gym, it's just faces going through the door, right?
Yeah.
When you see people who have been there for years and years and years and develop, I mean, that's where it's at for me, right? You can't kill someone like that, because now the school has an identity and a goal, and it just grows from there. What's it like watching your younger students grow into champions?
Oh man, like, you know, when you know, you know, the coolest thing about like watching someone like that, like, you know, a lot of the times, you know, you'll have, you know, if I was to look at someone that the longest person inside the gym that has been with us the longest is pretty much Jake. He's been there since 2009. He's still there, and he's gone from, you know, the very first level to pro status. You know, seeing him evolve, like his first fight, I remember was at Warrior Muay Thai. It was just a demo. It was a guy, Garrett Mole, that he had went with. I remember his first fight. I remember like his 60th fight, you know? So it's like, I can tell you all the guys he's fought. I can tell you how he fought them. I can tell you everything. It's just part of like me, you know, like I can do that for almost every single person that's there. I can tell you their records. I can tell you everything. So, just that alone, I can explain from a fighter competitive standpoint. There is like you know, you build these bonds, right? Like you're spending all this time in hotel rooms, You know, you have to bond with the person because they have to trust you. If they don't trust you in the corner, they're not going to listen to you. It's just realistically both you guys wasting your time. You know, like they have to trust if things aren't going your way, that you will at least have the answer to keep them safe. And that's ultimately that's the most important thing for me. Safety first, winning second, in my opinion. If you lose and you come out and you can bang again another day, that's perfect, right? So, you know, we try our best. We go in there, you know, believing that we're going to win every fight, but it doesn't always work out that way. But we do go in there 100% of the time looking to be safe. So
100%. So how do you start to cultivate somebody? How do you start to, I mean, every instructor kind of has their way of doing things. I'm curious to hear yours because you've been successful at it. What things do you look at in a potential fighter when you're looking at your new generation, you're looking at your crop? How do you decide, okay, I'm going to try to coax this person to fighting without being forced or without letting them rush in too quick?
You know, that, man, you just literally said it perfectly. You know, rushing in quick is everybody's Achilles, right? Like everybody wants to jump in, everybody wants to find out what it's like to get punched and hit, right? And you know, it's very hard to tell a person that they're not ready, right? Because again, at the end of the day, in my mind, when I look and judge if a person is ready or not, it's all based on if they'll be safe going in, right? If they're showing signs that they won't be safe in training, sparring, if they're not willing to push themselves to a level that will show that heart, right? If they're not able to do things simply like keep their hands up, all those things that come from a defensive standpoint. For me, biggest thing is defense. Like defense is such a big thing, right? Because it keeps you safe, right? You can go in there, you can throw bombs all day, but if you don't have good arm placement, you're gonna be in so much trouble, right? And the hardest thing for us is to stand ringside and look at that and watch it happen as it goes, because you get caught in quicksand, right?
Yeah.
And as you're sinking, the corner is wondering, you know, did I allow this to happen? Was this my fault? Right? So there's only, man, I can tell you a handful full of people that we've ever let in that wasn't ready to go. And if we did do that, it was from pressure of you know, keeping on like in the gym, you know, like, so a lot of the times people pull that card. So in my experience, I can't allow anybody to go through that, because to be honest with you, I don't want to go through that anymore.
No, right? I mean, I was pushed out of a gym because of that. You know, I didn't want to let certain students compete because they weren't ready, and there was pressure from the gym to get their athletes out and competing. One of them is a mutual student of ours.
Yeah.
But, I think that's the worst thing that a gym can do, is just slap a pair of shorts on a kid with their logo on it and stick him in a fucking ring.
Man, you know, it's funny you speak of that guy. You know, he's
a great kid, man. I'm proud of him.
Kid, bro. He was such a talented kid, and that was 100%. That was 100% a coach's, like, they pushed him too far, too fast, and that was a problem. They didn't, you know, being a good coach too, honestly, comes from like managing your guy, right? That you have to manage your guy. You know?
I think it has to come from a place also
caring
of love. Yeah, like
you have to care.
This kid's not your whore, you know. This kid is a person. You know, he's a young person.
Yeah.
And what you do to him and allow him to be in, is going to sculpt.
He was honestly, man, like he came in. I'll tell you the truth. Like from coming even from your tutelage and stuff, he had skills. He was very coachable. He had like really good basics. You know, and when I just heard like how he felt, and a lot of the times when you feel something, it's coming straight from the horse's mouth, man. You're not making that shit up. You're literally taking it and going like, when you hear that type of stuff, you feel it, because you realize like, man, like people sometimes care more about, you know, having a fighter and saying they have fighters than if they should have fighters.
100%.
You know? That's the problem. And he was, my heart bled for him because, he was led down the wrong path, and now he's gone. He's quit, right?
Yeah.
And that's the fear. Like, you're not really ultimately trying to control anybody by saying like, oh, no, you're not ready to go and whatever. What you're trying to do is simply say like, you can be a world champion, but you have to follow this to be that champion. Like,
yeah, there's certain hurdles you have to go through.
That's right. Take your time. If you're not willing to go through the hurdles, then hey, it's not for you, because getting punched is cool and stuff, but getting punched by a guy that has 3 fights is different than getting punched by a guy that has 20 fights.
Or who's fucking older than you that you shouldn't even be fighting.
Hey, sitting in the office and hearing that guy talk about it, man, it made me boil. So
yeah. How much of a problem do you think is it right now in our, in this thing that we didn't love? How many coaches do you think out there have fast tracked to Kru status? I'm gonna touch on some real shit. But how many out there right now? How big of a I don't think people understand how big of a fucking problem this is within the martial arts community. How bad is it, do you think, right now in the landscape for people fast tracking to this Kru status and having now the ability to affect a lot of people's lives when they shouldn't?
Man, okay, so I mean,
we don't have to say names, but
no, I'm not gonna say any names, but like, when you look at the word Kru, right? Kru is the Thai word for instructor. It's teacher, right? And the problem with striking, right? Like, for example, like if I say, so like, you're doing jiu-jitsu, right? Jiu-jitsu can't get away with half the stuff that some people can get away with when they're teaching somebody striking, right? Like, you can literally go buy pads at Walmart, right? And just look up some combinations, right? And be like, oh, I'm a coach. And then you have these people coming in, right? And you're trying your best to, make these people believe that you are a teacher or coach, and they trust you, right? And then you say, okay, it's fight time. And then you got to go and fight some of these demon teams, man. Like, there are some top level teams out there, right? And you go inside that ring, man, and you come across some of these demon teams. Like, if the coach doesn't realize that he did something wrong here, then that's a huge problem, right? And the issue that we'll get right back to the point is like, you have these people who are they didn't put that much time into actually learning Muay Thai, okay? And if they did, they went and did a seminar with it, right? So they just did a seminar, or maybe they did like a 2-week trip to Thailand, or they did whatever. They didn't put in any level of work to get there, right? And then they can easily just call themselves a Kru. Now, I'm a dick for saying that. If you call anybody out or you say that to anybody, you're an asshole. But what you're doing is you're trying to protect the guys that actually have a future in the sport, but let's say started with like
the
wrong team or the wrong coach, right? And that's the problem. That I think is the bigger issue. I don't see that really in jiu-jitsu. Like, if you have like a guy, like, a guy could literally be like, okay, if I took the same mentality, I could go to Warrior Fight Store and buy a black belt, put it around my waist.
It's been done.
And sell that.
Why am I
myself rolling 3 hours a day when I can literally just go Warrior Fight Store, buy a black belt, wrap it around my waist, tell everybody I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I can armbar. I mean, what regular person is going to know any different, right? Exactly. The people who are going to know different is going to be me. I'm going to be the guy who has to sleep with that.
And that's why I think the community in martial arts needs to be one of honesty and integrity. You have to be able to know. Like, I have a friend, my professor in capoeira. And full disclosure, I don't fucking do it often. That's just something I do for fun.
Yeah.
And honestly, I do it just to burn calories and just work flexibility. But I have fun doing it. But when I hear him, he came from Australia, when he came here and wanted to train, I liked his approach. He did the old school approach. He went to every fucking capoeira gym in the region, in the area, introduced themselves, trained with them, sparred with them, and just that's the polite way. This is who I am. This is what I'm capable of, and you build that connection, you build that rapport, right? So now when you open up your gym, yes, I met him. Yes, he's skilled. Yes, he's good. Yeah, he's a good guy. This needs to be done, I think, more often. Because of where we live is such a highly saturated area. We do have a lot of good talent, but there is a lot of there is bullshit too, and it's hard to know.
Man. Like, look, man, Bowmanville has like two good teams, man. There's two good teams in Bowmanville. Muay Thai Whippy is a good, strong team. In Durham, huh?
Calsmeret.
Yeah, man, good team, really good team. Whippy Muay Thai, really good team. Pound for pound, strong team, man. Those guys have been around for a long time. Like, I mean, long time, like 14 years they've been around. And this is just ultimately, like, you're talking about, like, Durham region, right? Like, Durham region strong. Like, those are your strongest teams in the Durham region. I feel anyway, right? And Ajax MMA actually is starting to build some really top guys too. And things will change, right? Because the longer the team is around, is the better that their guys will get, right? It's just like when you have like a new kind of team, and a team can be new. That's not the problem. It's just when the coach is so fresh that he's trying to care more about developing, getting the fights as opposed to developing the guy. Yeah, that's when you have a problem. And I think a lot of the times that's the biggest issue that, like, we have is, just train, man. Just shut up. Go to the gym, train, put in time. Or find one of these teams and ask them to help you, right? That's another one. Like, go to a team. Go to any one of the teams and say, hey, man, like, I want to, I need help. I would like to do this, and everybody will help everybody. It's just the way it is.
The thing is like, there are some people that go in there with baggage, right? Some people have this thing about fighting. They have this misconception what fighting is. I know I did. Like, my experience prior to actually training, because I started late. I only started training when I was 22. 2002, I started training. And then I started training with Joey in 2007. 2007, 2008, I joined the gym. But where I'm going with this is sometimes, like, people have these preconceived notions of what fighting is or what the training required for fighting is, that sometimes it staggers a lot of talented people for a long time. You know what I mean? And sometimes, like, these guys end up becoming like just the gym beasts. The guys in the gyms, they're used for the fighters. They're used to get fighters ready, but they're not always successful. Like if we look at a professional level, a guy like David Loiseau.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you deal with a student that you have like that has the capability, but has not yet cultivated the mental strength to be able to turn that off and on?
That's a good question, man. I normally just I just let them cook. I let them keep cooking, man. They have to cook.
I like that. Let them.
They have to cook. Like it. There is no given time where a person, like, I always tell everybody, right? Like, if they're in the gym, like, fighting is not a right, it's a reward, right? And a lot of the times people just assume it's their right to just jump in there, even if they're not ready, right? And they don't understand the type of sacrifices that even the coach has to make in order to get these guys ready for these things, right? So
very draining,
man. Like, very, very draining, very, very draining. And what makes matters worse is that if you're a good coach, and a lot of the times you'll look back and you'll ask yourself, like, what did I do wrong? Especially with a loss, right? It's not just the fighter that feels the loss, it's also the coach, a good coach anyway, right? And a good coach will take it on the chin, and they accept that as like kind of like something that they have to go back, look at the training and say, what did we do wrong within this particular situation? And that all that takes takes a lot of time. It can never be, oh, he just wasn't ready. Because if he's not ready going in, then I haven't done my job. And
well, that's the thing. Some coaches, you know, they're very quick to say, oh, he lost because he didn't listen to me, or because, you know, this or that. But it's also easy for some instructors to say, you know, if they got a kid who's just naturally talented, oh yeah, I taught him everything he knows. So it's very important for the judge, not the judge, but the coach, to be selfless and to understand his position in the bigger picture.
For sure.
Because I think that's when the real coaching happens. Showing the technique and pushing the student, of course, that's time, that's effort, it has to be done in an intellectual way, in a structural way. But the real coaching comes from the adversity, how to bring your fighter back.
For sure.
And I think that's a skill set in its own. And unfortunately, that's something you learn with experience. So like you say, when you first start, that's very hard.
Yeah. Especially when you first start. When you first start, you know, you make those little mistakes, but we always tried not to make those mistakes with people. So we, coming from training in the art for years before we even decided to do this, was one of the major things. And being an athlete yourself, that's a major one, right? Like being able to, you know, understand the weight cuts, the way the fighter feels, the way that you would want to be treated as a fighter, is the reason why I think we're able to also relay that back. And I think that's an important one as well. I don't think that you need to be a fighter to be a coach, because not all fighters are the best coaches, but you do need to have an idea of what it feels like when
100%.
You have to know, you have to be, you know, compassionate to that, right? So you can't force anything out of a person that doesn't have it, right? And that's where I'm saying, like, back to your question about how you deal with somebody like that. It's like, they just have to cook, man, until it clicks. If it doesn't click, then it just doesn't work, you know? It's funny, my jiu-jitsu professor said something like this to me, like in regards to, like, if a person is not, let's say, is not ready for the purple, right? But they've been around for a long time, do you give them the purple?
No, they should be given the purple when they have to earn it. But if they earn it with skill, that doesn't mean they earn it mentally. They have to earn it on all levels, I feel.
That's exactly.
You can give it to them, but they're not really going to feel like they are that. So why give it to them? Because now you're setting them up to fail.
That exactly, and that's where that was a conversation we had a couple months back. And if a person isn't ready for the level, then getting the level it's detrimental to that person's growth. They have to figure out why they're not getting to that level, and then figure out what they need to do in order to get there, right? So
yeah,
and that brings us back again to the cooking scenario, right? Because
I like that analogy, by the way.
Huh?
I like that analogy, by the way.
Yeah, man. It really is like, yo, when you really look at it, it's like, yo, that's the best way. And again, a lot of people don't want to hear that, right? So they get mad at you, they get angry at you, you know, they start to say things, and they'll tell you don't care about them, you know, like.
That's the stupidest thing to hear, because that's exactly why I'm fucking telling you this.
bro, you know, I've heard the most insane things, man. Like, you know, you only care about athletes, you know, there is this and that. It's like, man, not a single person that has walked through that door was a demon athlete that walked through the door. You know, Turner, Jake, the top guys that have come to the gym, none of them were demon athletes, right? They had, you know, it's crazy. It's like those two guys hate it when you say that, because they've put in hours of training, not just hours of training, but hours of studying. No different than myself as a coach or even an athlete when I was competing. We've all put in that level of work. And to say that a person is talented, or, you know, or to say that a person is, it's cool to say a person's talented, but to say that they got their base solely on talent is literally disrespectful. It just, man, it's like giving somebody a middle finger straight to their jaw, man. Like, none of that makes sense, right? Like, you're disrespecting what they took and their journey to get there, right? So, you know, for me, like, talent to me is when a guy fights, his 30th fight is his first fight. If a guy walks into his first fight and looks like his 30th fight and he's been training for 2 weeks, that is one, and never threw a punch in his life, that is a talent. Okay, you can't tell a guy that trains 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon, right, and then goes and do their stuff outside of that. So they're training literally all day. You can't tell a guy like that they've got where they are because of talent.
I want to ask you a question now, because right now it's the time for coaches to be the best that they can be for their students, because guys like Jake and guys like, all these talented young guys that are in their fucking prime right now, they can't be competing. They can't do their thing right now. They can't thrive. They can't shine. This is detrimental to, to their dreams, to their mental health, to the community itself. How do you keep your guys inspired? How do you keep them moving forward?
That's a really good question, man. One of the best things that literally could have happened was the Muay Thai rankings, the Muay Thai World Cup rankings. Kieran and them were building that over in Calgary, and it was like when that was dropped, it was just a fire, man. It was like a raging fire that started building in, I think, all of Canadians. I think that like when everybody saw the rankings that went out, some people I read and I saw some comments about like the rankings, and if anybody watches this, like I asked Kieran, like, how did he do the rankings? The rankings were ultimately based on records, who they fought. Being a pro was higher than amateur, but amateur still counted. Titles won. Who they fought was a big one too, based on their opponents that they fought, because it's important. If I have like 10 fights and I fought 10 of the hardest guys versus if I just fought like soup cans, that's a very, very different. That's a very different.
It's a different path.
It's a different path, man. That's a massively different path. Like, you can have a guy that's 0-10, but he fought like some of the best guys in the country. And then you can have a guy that's, 10-0, but he didn't fight anybody, right? So it's a very, very different path. So when Kieran dropped that, and it was just out of nowhere, and then he was like, we're really, setting up for the show that's going to be coming. I don't know when it'll be, but, I'm pretty sure it'll probably be hopefully in the summer, right? It revved everyone up to kind of get ready. And when the guys are competing and ready to go, what that does is that changes the energy in the gym, and then it gets everyone in their hype. So the guys are hyped. The guys that want to train with those guys are hyped. The guys that don't want to fight but are in the energy are hyped. So everybody is going nuts about it. Everybody is excited. So a little bit of an unfair question, because we were lucky to have that when that happened, right? So
now you're doing the online for your students. I assume you guys have pivoted back onto that since this fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
How do you find that adjustment as a coach, as an owner and operator, as the leader of your crew? How did you structurize that? How did you decide how you were going to run it? What do you feel is different about it? The pros and cons about it? How has the adjustment been? Because as martial artists, we always have to adapt.
Absolutely.
How do you think that's been impacting your school?
What we have a really big fitness kind of. We have fighters, but we have people that are there for every absolute reason, right? So there's guys that want to come in, lose weight. People that want to like get stronger, even people who are working on getting rid of injuries, being, every range. We have every range of person that you can imagine, right? So it wasn't too hard for us to switch from a fighter mentality or a competitive mentality to a fitness mentality. So everything that we've been doing right now for the last year has been all based on fitness. So coming in, doing your circuits, doing your hit circuits at the gym. We write our programs all based on, push, pull, lift mentality. Jake is very big in the new, with the functional patterns. He's been adding that into his system. He's gone and he's done training camps in regards to being able to offer that. So we've all been able to kind of change it to the fitness. So when it came time to do online, we did the same thing. We wrote the programs based on the same ideas that we would inside the gym. Not many people had punching bags, so we did more of a shadow boxing type thing. And I think that people were just happy to see everyone together inside the room for the community. And I think that it was just, everyone wanted to support. So even though it wasn't the best that everyone could offer, it was better than zero. So that was, it was easy for us to do that based on the idea that, a lot of our stuff, like if we were just a plain fight gym and we had, we just worked on technique based on fighting and so on and so forth, I think it'd be a little bit harder to have to convert that, even as a mindset, to go in there and do that. But because of the fitness side, we were able to just emphasize more fitness, and it's worked pretty good for us.
I think why that's so successful is, not necessarily everybody has, like you say, the equipment. Not everybody has, the training partner. Right. But what everybody can do is take accountability for their physical health.
That's right. That's right. It's 45 minutes, man. You can get up off your ass and do some stuff on, like you don't have to sit down and you can get up and do it. And a lot of the students that are at the gym, they, we try to encourage also to, go out there and write your own stuff, write your own programs based on what you've learned at the gym, right? Like we want to be like giving an education for something. Like you shouldn't have to feel like you have to just run and grab everything that's out there. Like there's tons of stuff on Instagram and stuff that people don't understand, that when somebody's writing a program, you're writing a program to help that person as a whole, right? When you're grabbing somebody else's program without fully investigating what that program is doing for you, it's almost like you're just doing you're doing the motion to understand. Sorry?
You're going through the motions.
Yeah, you're just going through the motion. That's all it is you're just going through the motion, and you take away from why you're building the program in the first place, right? So that's you hit it on the note, man.
Yeah. Well, my instructor Kevin Seaman, he said something to me once that it just, when you have somebody says something to you, it just fucking resonates. It rings a bell in your head. Yeah. And I remember him telling me this. He's like, "Don't go through the motions, grow through the motions."
Grow through. Yeah, that's. I'm taking that from.
Because if you think about it, it's like, what the fuck am I doing this for? If I'm not growing, if I'm not coming better, why am I wasting my time doing this? It makes no sense.
Yeah. I mean, what I like about Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that is that, you have a platform that can help people who understand what they're looking for kind of progress. Like you have a guy that's, intermediate to advanced. And if they see something that they go, oh man, that's really cool, they can take that information and then they can utilize it to evolve their program, right? But the problem is when you have a beginner that does it. When a beginner steps in and they say, oh, they see all these things and they go, oh my God. Then, a beginner starts freaking out, like, wow, this is insane. Like, of course it's insane. You've never seen this. You've never seen any of this information before. So the problem there is the beginner doesn't know how to use it, right? They just use it and they have no idea like how to make it work for what they're trying to do.
I think that's, you know what, you touched on it. That's a very smart point you made. Like that's very, very, very common. I think people forget once they've been training for a while and they want to present something on their, whatever, social media, they seem to forget that what is easy for them is not easy for everybody else.
No, it's not. It's not. Well, and here is my favorite part. This is my favorite. Okay, I love this. My favorite is when somebody does or learns or does whatever, right? And then they come in and they ask us to fix it. Right? Their jab, their cross, their hook. Oh yeah, I learned it here and I did this. And then they come in, they're like, oh, and you're like, oh my God, you got to literally turn all that off because you learned it wrong the first time. Right?
I mean, there's got to be a balance, right? Like you don't want to spend too much time training something wrong. You you build poor habits, right?
That's
But
right.
at the same time, the liberation is to do, like, if I turn the lights off, I'm gonna walk into every fucking wall in here until I know where they are. But once I've walked into every wall, I'll never forget where they are.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
You know, sometimes you have to, like me personally, if I'm teaching somebody, I only correct the big no-nos.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I feel like if I start to, no, you got to do this, you got to do that, I'm stifling their ability to feel, to work it out.
I understand that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I've got, like, we have a rule of 3. You know, we don't overcorrect. Well, we don't overcorrect anymore. But you know, we try our best not to overcorrect. And we have a rule of 3. We don't correct the same technique 3 times, because you can actually discourage.
100%.
Yeah, man. You can discourage a person. I've had this one woman came up to me and told me, actually, it was earlier this year, that she felt like before she had, like, high levels of anxiety when she was coming to classes, because she felt like, you know, she could never do anything right. And it was just the fact that you know, it's the way that she felt, because, again, you're having different personalities come inside the gym, right? So a lot of different personalities. You have to find out, as a coach, you can't train everybody the same way, right? So you try your best to, you know, hit every personality the way you can. Like, some people are shy, some people are, you know, introverted, extroverted, right? So you're trying your best to be caring, open, and trying to deliver this message as this teacher, to try to get everyone to understand the message. But not everyone gets it, right?
No, and it's hard. And that's, like, for me personally, I'm that way. You know, I've always been that way. I'm very, like, I don't say shit to you until I'm quiet and I watch.
Yeah.
And I listen. And I don't care what people think about me, because I'm gauging who your character is. You know, if I'm the quiet, shy guy and you're a dick to me, you just told me who you are. Thank you. I'm not wasting my time.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
If you're the person that's like, hey, man, you know, okay, all right. So, you know, there's something to that. But like you say, part of being a teacher, it's funny. Like, I'm shy myself, but I recognize it in other students, and I try to my best to relate to that, because I know what that's like to be there, but I also know how far I've come, and I've had very good instructors to help me along the way, and I've learned from.
Right.
And when you recognize it, you recognize it.
Yeah,
so when that person comes into that gym, for whatever reason it is, it's like a personal investment.
100%. 100%. Personal investment. Yeah, man, you couldn't say it better than that. It's a personal investment, for sure. And you meet some of the best people, man. You meet like lifelong.
Man, all my best friends are people who hit me, or who've challenged me, who've checked me, who've made me sweat, who made me want to quit. I mean, like, I've said this so many fucking times, but I'll say it again, because my dad said one thing to me I'll never forget. He's like, you never know a man until you fight him, and you never know a woman until you sleep with her, because those are the 2 most animalistic things that we do as human beings, and there's no fucking lying in it.
No, there is no line at all in that.
You know, if this person cares, if they're passionate, if they're selfish, if they're weak, if they're weak-minded, if they're well,
100%, man. That I agree to that. That you just hit a couple of notes right there. That I agree to that.
Yeah, so, like, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it takes that little bit of coaxing and that time to, like you say, cook. It takes that time to cook, man. You gotta marinate. You gotta marinate a little bit. But once you flourish, it's like, fuck, man. These are friendships that last forever.
Man, one of my favorite. Through martial arts, I met this amazing family. You know, the Thackers. Through martial arts, I met these amazing people. They brought me out to their home in England. I was able to spend some time there, and I met another great family. And they introduced me to this Indian dish called saag paneer. Okay, and they cook that thing for 6 hours.
Wow.
Okay, it cooks for 6 hours, right? So trust me when I say cooking, man. Some people need to cook just a little bit longer than others, but you know, when their 6 hours is done, like, you know, they'll definitely get there.
Yeah, 100%. So another thing I like about you and I respect about you is, even though you dedicated a lot of your time to striking, I love the fact that you fucking do different arts. For me, as a Jeet Kune Do practitioner, that's my major focal point in martial arts has always been towards like the self-defense aspect.
Yeah.
It's why I started training. It's why I wanted to train. And you know what? The way shit's headed, hopefully it'll fucking pay off. I pray I never have to use it. But man, I need to feel like I can defend my family the best I can. Otherwise, I don't want to fucking know myself.
Right.
But I like the fact that you train jiu-jitsu and you have judo training. Speak to me on how you first discovered, what was it like for you to go from a striker, a good striker, to a fucking newbie on the mat? Because was the shittiest feeling. Still is. I don't like jiu-jitsu. I do it because I know it's a necessity. And it's beautiful because you can test yourself without worrying about concussions on a regular. What was it like to be the new guy on the mat?
Man, I actually started in jiu-jitsu before I started Muay Thai.
Really?
Yeah, man. I started, so I came from Taekwondo. I did Taekwondo, like I said, at the starting of this for about, probably say about 9 years, 8 years. And then I went over to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, went to Brazil. Actually, I was in Brazil during the blackout in 2000.
Oh shit, I remember that.
Yeah, so I was in Rio de Janeiro, and I woke up and I turned on the TV and all of Canada was black, and I was like, oh my God, what is happening there, right? So they had all that going down in Brazil at the time, and I was there. I was training with Professor Silvio Bering at the time, and back then there wasn't that many schools, like not that many schools.
No.
Right? Like handful of schools. I was lucky enough to train at Shaw Franco's with some really top level guys. But at the time, I wasn't really taking it that serious, right? I was, my mind. I have a squirrel brain, man. Like especially at that time, I was all over the place. And then I found Muay Thai actually in 2002. My brother and I decided that we were going to go and just start training because we had trained in Taekwondo for so many years. So I stopped doing jiu-jitsu right when I got my blue belt in 2005. So stopped doing it, didn't pick it up again. I think I tried it once again like in 2013, but then I got back to it in 2018. And I actually took my blue belt when I got to Lin's, and Lin's was probably Professor Lin. Why I resonate, for me, it was either going to be Professor Lin's or, to be honest with you, Professor Dynas.
He's awesome.
I know he is, man. For me, it was the timing. It was the timing with the schedule was huge, right? So if I could train in the daytime, that was the best for me. So if you know where Professor Lin is versus where I am, it's a 45-minute drive. And when I first went out there, what I loved about it was, this is going to sound so weird, and I have no idea. I don't know anyone else that has this timeline, okay? But Professor Lin has a 12:15 class, and for some reason, 12:15 is so much better for me than 12 o'clock. So 12:15, 15 minutes. And for whatever reason that worked, and I went there and I took my blue belt and I handed it to them, and I said, I got this in 2005. I'm pretty sure I'm not this anymore. Give me just give me. Yeah, bro. I 100% gave it back. Said, hey, this is not me. I just want to re-earn this and continue going. And they actually said, you know what? Come in, try our beginner class, and we'll see where you are. And first class, the instructor at the time was Professor Estefan, came in and said, next class, you got to come over here, man. So got my, kept my blue belt and went into the class and, felt like shit, man.
Yeah.
So you're this brand new blue belt.
Being 40 and having fuck, if I start training consistently, I guarantee you within 3 months, I'm having really bad tendonitis in my arms. It just fucking happens. And I have to, you see me at the gym sometimes. my body, it is what it is. I feel like I'm healthy, but I just have these. I think I just have injuries I didn't pay attention to properly for lack of knowledge on how to. But I'm trying to learn now and take better care. But it's like you go and you roll these fucking 20-year-olds. They're like these 20-year-old beasts, and it's like I will go to Dynas's gym and I'm just fuck. Like I got my blue belt there, but dude, I it's so hard now. Like these kids are so they're learning so much. They're like sponges. You know what I mean?
Man,
And they're younger and they're stronger. And it's like fuck.
The game has changed, man. It's always evolving, right? And what I love, actually, what I love about Lynn's as well is, you know, like it's, I don't know what it is, man, but the personalities there are just amazing. Like nobody's trying to kill you. The emphasis there is on strategy, huge. Like, you know, Professor Lynn, he's an engineer, and he like just everything he does is based on like it's like you're talking to a mad scientist, man. You know, and you're literally logged in on it. Like, you know, it's insane. Like you know, when I'm there, I give my 100%. You know, someone says, "Oh, roll lighter," no problem, roll lighter. You know, some guys will roll harder, some guys will roll lighter, but the information is like layers on a cake, man. Right? Like you're there, it's like getting from layer 1 to layer 5, man. It's like, you know, and they open up your mind, you know, and it's not just him either. It's, you know, Estefan and there's guys there that are top level guys, like, you know, that are not just black belts, but purple and high level, like even high level blues I listen to, man. Like some of the guys there, it's just.
Yeah, if somebody does something good, man, I don't care what belt you are, just fucking show me.
Show me. You know, and it's actually helped me in a lot of my competitions. You know, they like they really helped me get there. And, you know, being a blue belt and competing for the first time since 2005 was a trip. So that was a real trip for sure, because you're just like, the anxiety is insane, right?
Dude, when I competed in jiu-jitsu, the BJJ, the first time, because I come from a Japanese jiu-jitsu background, right?
Yeah.
And then I got into the BJJ. But it is so much different than what I expected. Like, you don't have your corner guy by you. It's like it was just totally different for me. And I've got it out of my system. I can't wait to do it again because I want to do it again. But it's just so much different. How much of your experience in competing in Muay Thai transferred over to your mindset with regards to jiu-jitsu?
Man, you know, for me, I stopped at 15 fights, and I put too much pressure on myself for Muay Thai, just being a coach and thinking that, you know, you have to.
You can't fail in front of your students and
exactly.
shit.
That ruined me as a fighter, for sure. And it took me a long time to come to grips with that. And that's one of the actual reasons why I went so hard before COVID in jiu-jitsu. And it taught me that I have to get over that hump. I have to get over, you know, that fear and the anxiety of, you know, failing at this. I love it. I love competing. I love training. And I think that the number one thing for me was for me to get over the hump. You know, in a year and a half, I did like 13 tournaments, and it was.
Yeah, I witnessed that hustle. Full disclosure, bro. When you were like hustling, I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna go do a jiu-jitsu match.
Oh,
like straight up. No, because you know what? I didn't even give a fuck. I didn't even know the points, man.
Yo,
I just like, I'm gonna go in and just try to choke the fucking guy. And
my first tournament, honestly, originally I wanted to be a judo champion, right?
Yeah, no, your judo's good, bro. I seen your shit.
Man, I wanted to be a judo champion. I actually started training judo with the Fomokan guys. I was lucky enough to be able to spend some time training with Charlie, with Sensei Charlie before he retired. There is Olympians that actually work with me for my judo, which is like honestly really cool. I don't get to pay as much attention to it as I would like to, because there's only 2 days a week. that they teach. But man, I wanted to be a judo champion originally, and I actually won some judo tournaments before the lockdowns. And I love it. I just love that. I take to it. I love the finesse and the style and the skill of judo. I love the beauty of it, and I just love how it transitions over to jiu-jitsu so well. If you know what you're doing.
Yeah, they go hand in hand. I mean, that's the Budo. That's the way, right? That's
Man, what a fantastic art. I love it. I love the guys that I work with. And when I look at like my jiu-jitsu, like it's really helped me get those 2 points, man. When we go for the throw, and a lot of good guys are judo black belts going in there, and one of my goals was to get my black belt in 3 years, but unfortunately that's not happening with COVID, with everything going on, right? So yeah.
So that brings me to a question, man. Okay, because I think this is something. If anybody listening to this, I think everybody's going through this struggle, right? At some point, like you cannot let shit stop you from reaching your goals, no matter what. How are you coping? How are you self-training?
Business wise, financial wise, COVID has been like an absolute shit show, right? Just like anybody else that has a business, there's a massive business crisis. There's sick gyms that like have closed down just from this, right? Like, every single time you see a gym close down, you have to look at yourself and think like, is that going to be mine, right? So a lot of the times it's like, you have like the sleepless nights of worrying, like, is your gym going to close down? Are people going to, it's Russian roulette on who turns their membership off. Their membership comes off, and that's just another, loss to your day. That being said, it has actually helped me in other ways. For like one, me and my wife buckled down and had a son, right? And like, COVID gave us that ability.
God bless you, bro. God bless you and your family.
Thanks, man. Like, like it was like, I don't know if he'd be here if it wasn't for COVID. If that sounds weird, right? We were able to actually spend that time together, and we weren't traveling for fights. So, we took the time to, make that family, right? And so I'm blessed that, and I Professor Lin's been in my bubble pretty much ever since, right? So I've been getting like one-on-one training with Professor Lin since August. So
I'm actually getting some lessons from his brother, James.
Yeah, no, James is a good judoka, man. From what I hear, he's a sick judoka. Nice guy, man. I see him doing. I haven't met him yet, but he's
we fuck around with our group of guys, our bubble. We just basically bastardize everything. We just try different shit and experiment, and it's a good thing we got going. And thank God for those guys, because I would be going crazy, man. Like the beginning of the lockdown, like when it first happened, I was doing all the online classes, and then it just got stale. I just missed the interaction. You know what I mean?
Man, think about it. It's like when we're doing this, we're like, you're doing it for so many things, man. Like, so many guys I look forward to seeing, like some of my training partners, like Orson, Marco, and Weena Cat. These are people that like I honestly look forward to seeing on a weekly basis. And guys like Estefan and stuff like that is like, I get so hyped up to drive. Like, it's not anything for me to drive 45 minutes to see people you care about, right? So
straight up, I drive to combat an hour every time I go.
Yeah, man. You're willing to put in that work for the time for the people that you care about, right? So it that one's huge, right? So when that all closed down, it really challenged a lot of people with the anxiety and the depression, with not being able to train, not being able to think. And unless you do it, you're not going to understand it. And a lot of people will say, just stay home. But like, nobody's staying home. Who's staying home?
Fuck that shit.
Who's staying home? Nobody's staying home. Bro, at this moment, right, you have people who are just following like all this shit based on convenience now. Like, it's all based on what's convenient. Well, I pay mortgage. I pay for my car, right? And, feed my kid and whatnot. But most people have that. What most people don't have is a $10,000 rent for their business. Then they don't have employees, right? You're spending out like a little under $20,000 a month just to pay employees, hydro, heating, right? Water, if you have to pay water, you know. And when you're looking at all the stuff that's going on with when people are openly, you know, saying, "Oh, shut down, stay home," most of the people who are saying that are still working.
Yeah, but we're all in this together.
That's the gripe. That's really the gripe. The gripe is that I potentially can lose my house and my business, but you know, you're at home, okay, or you're going to work and you're telling us to stay home, but you're still earning the dollar. Nothing has changed for you.
No.
Right? Nothing. And that's the sad part, because if we had more people that were like, you know what, I totally understand that, you know, we need to hit this differently, then you'd start to see a little bit more people at least stop maybe getting so angry at what's going on in regards to like not having the support. Because I think at the end of the day, I feel that people aren't supporting everyone, not seeing that everyone's dealing with things, right?
My perception is that, and whether this is done directly or indirectly, my perception is right now what's happening is they're creating a two-tier society. So like the have and have-nots, right? So yeah. For example, right now, like you say, I mean, I've been lucky, thank God. I've been lucky. I work from home, and my job, I haven't stopped, right? And thank God. But that doesn't mean I don't have capacity, because I know a lot of people who are going through it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we need. We need more people like that.
Because I talk to them. They're in my life. Right. How can I not fucking care about my brothers, right?
That's one of the major things that I have a problem with is when people are blinded to that part of it, and they think the government is helping, but the government's not helping.
No, it's only a matter of time before they're affected.
Bro, it costs me every single time we open, we make changes to make it better for the gym. You've seen it.
Yep.
And every single time. It costs me nearly $20,000 that I don't have to meet COVID standards. Every single time he closes down that gym, from the first to now, has cost me 20 grand. Now, where the hell was I going to get that 20,000 when we needed the help in the first place? They wouldn't let us open the way that it was before we got there. We had to make those changes. We hired a Syntex group who came in and pretty much set up the whole place nicely. We pay them monthly. We've got the cleaning supplies that's in the washroom to help clean everything off. Every class, we change classes from an hour and a half to 45 minutes. We clean 15 minutes in between. We get the guys to spray everything down. They have their own 6-meter kind of space. They hit that bag. There's only 10 people in the place, and people come in, they train, they go through one door, they leave through another. It's the easiest setup that we have at the place. You've seen it. Come to the front door, leave through the back, right? It is absolutely insane that we can't open that door. It's insane, you know. And what's it going to cost us to open up the next time? What's he going to say that's going to change pretty much what we're going to be able to do to open up so that we can meet that COVID standard? So I totally understand what you mean about the restaurant, you know, and we just keep bleeding, right?
You're playing the long game.
Man, if you get a government, like if you look at the government, when the government is trying to help you, they help you based on like, you know, how much employees you have, you know, and like, you know, paying out your what's it called? Oh my God, why my mind just freaked out on me. Man, like
insurance?
No, not the insurance. It's like when you're doing like your pay, man, payroll. So but most of the time, most gyms, the way that they pay guys, I know the way that like I know most of the guys that most of my friends, the way that they pay people, they pay them through like you're hiring a contractor, right? And you give them that contractor work, so you don't have to go through all the payroll hassle of all that stuff, right? So you're paying out still that money's still going out, right? Like you're still making the base of what it is that you're paying out, but because it's not done the way that it's issued, you're not able to get that funding because it's not the way they want you to be, right? So you're still paying it out. It doesn't matter if it's on payroll or if it's through contracting. If it's $100 grand, $100 grand is leaving your bank account. So
Yeah, they're lending you 50, but they're taking 100.
Yeah, yeah, right. So even if you're able to get that CBA loan or the what was it, the 60,000, even if you were to, you have to pay that back, right? They'll allow you, but like, yo, like who's trying to pay back? Who can pay back in the way that things are going right now? Who's able to pay back that 40,000 by 2022?
And that's the trap, right?
That's the trap. Nobody's going to be able to pay that back. They're going to start to rebuild to try to get them back to where you were before COVID happened. And every single time we close down, it's 3 steps back every single time. This is the 3rd time. I feel like I'm 9 steps back. You know, and that's the issue, and that's the craziness. And to be honest with you, if I choose between, you know, caring about feeding my son or the ICU ward, that's a really hard comparison, man. You know, I don't want to sound like a dick, but my kid needs to eat food.
But that's exactly the point, right? This is the choices they're forcing us to make. And I only think the way we can get over this is to really come together as a community and, you know,
exactly
introduce things like the barter system, introduce things like, you know, we have to basically set up our own government within our own circles and community. This is the thing. There are so many people we know who have so many different skill sets that if we utilize each other, we can become our own self-sustaining community, you know, and this is what's going to have to happen now because, man, you know, when your parents tell you and your kid, you know, if your friend jumps off a cliff, you're going to fucking follow them. Like how long are you going to follow this song and dance before you realize these people don't have the best interest at heart?
Man, I don't know, man. I think that, like, man, you know how Canada's been dealing with this damn disease, man. Like, you know, some places are doing way better than us, and we're supposed to be a first world country, you know. So it's really sad.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't believe that what they're doing is for our benefit. What they're doing is they're using something. There's always something, you know. Every war, there had to be a reason to have people rally.
Yeah.
You know, this is just a reason to spark something. You know, it's they're taking an opportunity to push a narrative or an agenda based off certain circumstances, but they're manipulating the circumstances, and you know they're giving false information. And there's false information on both sides. I'm not just saying, like, you know, there's also something called control opposition, right? There's false information, and that's what's got people so fucked up because who do you believe? Like the government has doctors that support this, but there's also doctors who support against that. Then they're discredited. Why? Because they're not saying what the narrative is.
100%, man. And that's where there's that massive disconnect is when you have so many sides and you really don't know what to believe. You know, it's hard. It's really hard to take the word of everyone because everybody wants this to be over. Everyone is panicking because they don't know when it will be over. And two sides are playing, you know, both sides of a coin, man. I think that, like, nobody wants a solution. I mean,
well, the ones running it, yeah.
Yeah, no, even when you hear somebody talk, right? Whenever I get into like a debate or if I talk to somebody, I'll ask them, I'll be like, well, what's the solution? They can't tell you. They can't tell you. They want to argue until they're sick in the head with anything. But when you try to figure out a solution, they don't want the solution, man. They're content with just the problem. They want to get, you know, the argument, and then there's no solution to that argument. You know, it's like, well, why are we even arguing in the first place? If you're not gonna, you know, at least come to some type of an understanding of how we can fix this problem, right? Then what was the point of even talking to begin with?
Exactly. But the thing is really what it is it's a stall tactic. It's just like lawyers. A lawyer will make you bleed it out until you just throw in your case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That being said, Steve, if we look at a timeline, We look back, we look at the history of martial arts, its ups and downs. Right now, we're looking at a time where it's going to go into like an incubation, where it's going to go underground again. How do you think this is going to affect the quality of martial art, the growth of martial art, and the culture of martial art?
I mean, I don't think I think for the quality, the growth, and everything else, I honestly think that people are growing. Like, bro, if you wanted to train and you wanted to get like to a level, right? I could train you in front of my TV, and it would be the same as training in the gym, you know. And I find that people are training in their basements. They're training like you said, they're doing underground stuff because that's where we are right now. Like, you know, it's prohibition times again, and we're literally, you know, trying to get that moonshine, you know, and we're trying to get it any way we can. And I'll tell you, man, the personal time that Professor Lin has invested in me has skyrocketed. Like I wouldn't be who I am now in jiu-jitsu if it wasn't for COVID again. Like, here we are with that. So the ability, the growth, you know, like what we're doing with our guys with Muay Thai, you know, we're able to grow. I think that what's hurting it is the financing.
Yeah.
Right? I don't honestly think that the culture will change. You know, like I'm seeing people training online. People are becoming more interested in health, more interested in fitness. You know, we've gotten tons and tons of calls. Like we can't even like get some of these people in through the door just because the amount of interest there is to get people doing something has skyrocketed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. See, this is where I agree with what you're saying, but I think there's a component here is like the ones who are already doing it, the ones who are already committed,
yeah,
they're not gonna fucking stop. They're gonna have their moments of like, oh fuck, it's not the same, but they're gonna find a way. Right. So the quality for people who have already been doing it for years is still gonna be there. However, it is these new people.
Because you're talking about like the new people.
I'm talking about if we look at like if we step outside of time and we look at the timeline from where martial arts.
Oh, I see. Okay.
To where we are.
I see.
This is a big ripple in the pond. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is. I understand what you mean. I thought you meant like as like for like us, for like me and you.
I'm thinking about all of us.
Yeah, no. If you were to honestly look at like I'll use us an example. I don't know like what other gyms are doing, but because there's no interaction, you've got guys that started with us like 8 months ago that have never done partner work, you know, and they are not where they would be normally had they been with us 8 months prior to COVID, right? Yeah. So that's the issue. They have no idea partner work. They've been doing singular drills on a bag, which is still good. Don't get me wrong. They're doing their singular drills on the bag. You know, they're working their technique, but what you get out of partner work, you know, man, from striking, even jiu-jitsu is huge. Like, could you imagine a person stepping in, like who I feel really bad for are like the jiu-jitsu gyms, you know? And yeah, I know a lot of jiu-jitsu gyms that rely now on the dummy, right? They do the dummy training, right? And could you imagine just starting jiu-jitsu, doing dummy training, and all of a sudden now COVID's over and you got to roll this dude, you know, like you have the muscles that you would have gained and the stability from what you gained from having a partner. That's
sensitivity.
That shit is gone, man. It's literally like me climbing on this table, right? Climb on this table right now, practice the breaststroke, okay, for 6 months. And then I got to jump in water I've never been in.
Yeah. That's analogy. Yeah, no, 100%, man. It's like punching the bag and then go like, okay, now go punch somebody who's moving.
Go spar. Go move around. Okay, distance yourself. Defense, because you can teach offense and attacking on a bag, no problem. But defense is out the door. Like, you know, like defense is one of those things where you definitely need a partner. You know, you have to understand range. You have to understand, you know, footwork. You can practice your footwork, but you have to understand the different types of ways to open up the guard. You know, it really is detrimental to a lot of the newer guys thing, right? And, you know, even though you're just sticking on fitness or something like that, it's like I understand what you mean when you now with the question. It's like it is a ripple in time, because the longer that we keep doing this, you might lose someone that could have been really great because they're it brings us back to the coach question in regards to, guys that just push people into fighting. You end up losing like key guys that could have been something special, and that is a fear for sure.
The one thing that I will say, and you have to try to always look at the positive, because you try to be negative, you go fucking nuts. But the one thing I will say about COVID is it is teaching people to be creative.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Doing the Zoom lessons with Professor Dynas, the use of the chair.
Oh man, I know.
Prior to COVID, I'd look at a chair, I'm like, I would have never fucking thought about that, right?
Trust me.
Necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Yeah.
So one thing that I would say is positive is now we've been very fortunate. We've been very fortunate in our accessibility and our resources. And I think, I think back to the times where I was, I'll come home from work tired and my kids want to spend time with me and I'm fucking tired and I'm like, I'll just train at home tonight instead of going to class. I'll still train, but I'm going to train at home and not go. I fucking regret those days because now they're taken away. And, not that I should be grateful, because by the fucking grace of God, I should have every opportunity to interact with whom I choose.
Yeah,
but
man, can you imagine for myself? I was training 6 days a week, man. Sometimes twice a day. I had like a sickness, I was banging it out hard, and then COVID turned it into 3 times a week.
It's a shock.
It's a shock. It is a shock. Definitely a shock. So.
We're still young. I mean, we have a lot of experience. We've been doing it for a while, but we're still young. Where do you see yourself as an instructor, 5 years from now? And what kind of mark do you want to leave on the community or be remembered for?
Man, for me, one of the greatest feelings for myself is, when there was, I actually shared this on my Instagram the other day. There was actually a woman used to train with us a long time ago, and she sent me this.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Did you see that post?
Yeah, it's fun. I love shit like that. Go ahead, brother.
And, all the fighting and the traveling and like man, put this in perspective. Like, I've been a Team Canada coach like over 10 times, man. Like, I've gone to Malaysia, I've gone to Thailand, Mexico. We fought in Panama. Like, we've gone all over the world for this, and nothing replaces the feeling of a person thanking you for something you did that helped them or saved their life in some way.
Yeah, man. That's
right. I'm not talking shit. Like, that's 100%. Like, I even have goosebumps thinking about it, because it gives it purpose. Like, all that fighter stuff. The fighter stuff can really play in your heart a lot. It can really harden it. It can make it. People won't like you because of choices you've made. People will always look for an scapegoat, and a lot of the times I've been that goat, right? So, but in the other way, it's always 100%, like, always 100% appreciation, and I'll take that a million times over the other stuff. And we're just like what she said, that helped her, saved her life in many different ways. And like, when you look back at that, it's like, I haven't honestly trained her in like almost 8 years. So for a person to write you after 8 years, like, to say, hey, that goes to show you like that you changed, right? And or I've been confirmation sponsors for students that were going through confirmation. We'd go and watch hockey games for like the local hockey team, Toros, for some of these kids. A little girl did a wrestling tournament and wanted me and our Jake to go and watch. Those are the type of things that we honestly look forward to and gives us that feeling. So if I wanted to be remembered as anything, it would be the coach that ultimately, was there for his guys, and, not just a guy for fighting, but a guy that, cared, a guy that showed up to the weddings, the guy that, showed up to the birthdays, That guy. That's who I would like to be.
That's, you know what, we share that in common. That is my thing for doing it too, because one thing is what we experience, what we go through in our own journey, that's for us.
Yeah.
But when we give that to somebody else, we live forever,
Yeah,
right?
man. 100%.
And that's power. When we
That's
die,
power.
our name lives on because we
Yeah,
affected life,
for sure.
affected someone's life. I think that's the real essence of the martial code, man.
It is, man. It really is, and it's the people that don't give up on your hard teaching, man. Sometimes you got to be a hard box in order to help these people get out of that shell, because a lot of the times people who walk through the door, I think like 80% of the people who walk through the door are like introverted. They don't, they're very, very anxious, depressed at something. They're not coming into the gym to be, on lion fight. They're coming into the gym to get over one of these obstacles,
Man.
and a lot of people do. They really do, and it's inspiring to see, man. And like those are the things that really matter, man. I was like, even at first it was all about fighting. It was, I want to have the best team, want to have the biggest team, want to have the best kids, the best this. But after a long time,
that's the immaturity. That's the immaturity.
That's the ego. It's the ego. It's
it's just like being the martial artist, right? You want to learn. You fucking fumble about until you start to get some education and coordination, and then the ego kind of builds, because now you can do something you couldn't do before, and you start to love yourself for it. But then you start to believe your own, like you start to get up in your own hype, and that's kind of like the progress, and then that you realize there's more than that, and then it becomes that second phase. You level up. Now you're not the guy doing it; you're the guy sharing it.
That's right.
And you're watching somebody else go through it. But now there's also that incline or decline as an instructor, because there's maturity levels of being an instructor. Because being an instructor is a whole different skill set.
Bro, a whole different skill set. Being an instructor is a whole different skill set, and we. A lot of the times we shake our heads at it, because everybody's an instructor, man. Everybody wants to teach, everybody wants to show you some shit. And that's cool. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, in that way. But I mean, nobody wants to be a student anymore, and I love being a student, man. Like, dude, I sit there, my hair is messy, I'm sweating, I'm breathing hard, like I'm dying, and I'm still like wide open eyes when professor's talking, man. And it's the way I was too. And Kru Mikey from Southside would talk about Muay Thai, and we would we'd become like so close just off of our relationship as fighter coach, and now he's one of my best friends, and we talk all the time. We've grown together, and just we've been business partners, and I just love being that student, man. I just love it. And now I have had that relationship with guys at the gym, and now they have their own students, and it's cool. You start to see like the ripple effect. Right? Yeah, you have a ripple effect, man, and it's hard to it's hard to respect someone who doesn't follow that same line, because that's pretty much like how martial arts should ultimately be.
Well, that's the thing. Like if I were to, martial arts it's funny, right? Because you have to learn to play different roles. Like your role changes.
Yeah.
And you have to be smart enough to recognize what your role is.
Right.
Like right now I'm in this role. Okay. But I'm going to play this role to the best that I can.
Right.
Okay. All of a sudden now I'm in this role. Okay. What's this all about? Let me listen to the old heads who've been doing this a little bit longer.
Right.
And that is something that is also lost in today's society. Like these lessons are taught to us whatever you do, whether it be music, whether it be art, whether it be martial arts. Like these fucking lessons you find them everywhere. They're relevant. And one thing about the art that I love is learn to fucking listen to the guy who came before you. You know what I mean? The guy who came before you, who's going to tell you, hey, relax a little bit, because when you're 40, you're going to feel that. You got to take it easy. Think about and we don't listen. And in society, like, we don't give a fuck about the old people, you know, like not like it used to be, right?
No,
One day, how can you not give a fuck about the person that you're going to become?
that's right.
You know, and so that's why I think within that warrior culture, you know, that is something that's lost. That's very, very important.
Oh no, it's lost. It's lost for sure, man. And you know, I don't know when it was lost, but I don't know.
Over
It
time.
yeah, it's hard to know, man. It really is. Like in my whole life, I've only ever been to I've only trained like two jujitsu gyms my whole life. You know, from being in martial arts for 30 years, I've only been to two jujitsu gyms. One judo gym. I've been on 3 Muay Thai teams in the course of 17 years, 18 years. Um, you know, we try to go to the same place when we go to Thailand to give respect
Yes.
you know, and loyalty to those people.
You
You
see?
know,
You see?
oh, I've been to Thailand like 15 times. I've been there for as long as 2 months. You know, we try our best to go. Like I always go and visit like the people that I've worked with. You know, it depends on where we go in Thailand, but a majority of the time we're going to the same place because, you know, those people really do care about you in a way after a while, you know, and they really, you know, take care of you and they start showing you more and they start, you know, caring about you. Like, man, you could call up any of the guys and I still talk to them even to this day. If it wasn't for COVID, like I've been going to Thailand since 2007 and I've been going religiously every year, sometimes twice since 2007. 1 year was twice, I think, and literally have been going just like always to like the same. Yeah, to go to check on your guys and go and check on your team, right? And even Taekwondo, even for the 8-9 years I was doing Taekwondo, it was only 2 gyms I'd only been to, and I think that that's also an art form that is missing. You know, is developing with your guys, and you'll start to see some of the best guys are developed at you know, at a place, and you know they grow and they build with the team, and it is not saying that you can't go anywhere else and get sparring or anything like that, but you know, a lot of the guys that that are built from the, like, you know, from the backs of some really caring coaches, man. You know,
And it's
so,
contagious, right?
very contagious.
So speaking of coaches now, you got a little man in your life.
Yeah.
What's that like, man? What's that? How has that changed your perception? Because I know for me, man, that's honestly when I held my firstborn, that's when God came back in my life. Um, but how has that affected you as a person? You know, do you already visualize how you're going to train your son? Like, what has that done for you as a person, as a martial artist, to your everyday life?
For me, I've got to, like, what's cool is that my wife's a martial artist as well. So the best part was, you know, meeting a person that shares your that major interest and passion, right? And so anything that comes after that is so much easier, right?
Yeah.
Like you know, babe, I gotta go train, you know, and I think that, like, for me, I don't abuse that. If I, you know, if I say I'm gonna be done at X time, I don't stay around and shoot the shit for that much longer. Like, so I don't abuse it, man, because you can abuse it, right? And
Oh yeah.
and when you know, and you know, when I come home, I make sure that, like, you know, I'm taking my son and making sure I'm spending as much time with him as possible. I think for his training, I'm gonna train him more of be an athlete first before I start throwing, like, you know, technique and stuff at him. So, you know, simple things to make them be more athletic. I think that's something that parents miss out on for their children, is not building their athleticism. You know, like a lot of the times, like when somebody is bringing their kid into the gym, they're 8 years old and they've never ran in their life. They don't run. They don't play anything. They don't do anything. All right. And the craziest thing is, like, one time a kid came into the gym, and this is not a word of a lie. You know, we said, okay, you know, took our time. We said, gave him to do 4 jumping jacks, and his heart beat so fast he started crying. And I said to him, I said, oh, I'm like, yo, what, you okay? She's like, oh, my heart hurts, right? And we're like, what do you mean your heart hurt? And it took me some time. I'm like, yo, what does he mean his heart hurts, right? This kid is like 10 years old. Kid's overweight, right? He's never done,
Dude,
he's never elevated his heart, bro. Like, I was,
so
this guy's never elevated his heart in his life. So I was like, okay, man, like his entire trial was 4 jumping jacks. And I had to send him out. I had to send him home. I didn't even think he was going to sign up. His mom signed him up same time. And
good for her.
Oh, signed him up same time. She actually said, you know, I'm a single mom and, you know, I'm not able to spend as much time with him as we'd like. And honestly, he comes in, he puts in an effort. He works hard. He got through it, you know, seeing a lot of change in him. And he's still at the gym all to this day. And you know, since COVID, yeah, he started a
I said he's cooking.
Oh, cooking. Oh, he's cooking, man. he's cooking. Yeah. Oh yeah, he's cooking. But you know, it was very, very cool. I'll tell you the honest truth. I didn't think that he was gonna want to continue. And it takes a certain personality to be cool with that.
Yeah, man. That's for me the real fighter.
Yeah. Man. That if that kid can get over that hump and say, okay, I'm back again. Because remember, he was embarrassed. He cried.
Yeah.
He was embarrassed. He couldn't do the jumping jack. Right. He was embarrassed that he had to leave early. Right. These are all things that hit this kid that's literally 10 years old. Right. And he had to go home and sit with that.
Yeah.
There's no way he could have said, yeah, mom, I liked it. I want to sign up.
No,
right?
But that's what I'm saying. Like that, you can either fold or you can fucking light a fire in your ass and say,
dude,
no.
The guy was back the next day, man, and I you know, gave him a hug, and I was like, man, I'm so proud of you. I'm proud that you came back, and that's it. And that's what it's about, man. Is that type of stuff.
All right, man. I'm gonna wrap this up. But yo, listen, I really appreciate the time you took to talk. You have a very valuable insights for anybody in the martial arts community. I recommend anybody checking out Team Red, Redemption Muay Thai in Bowmanville. Great atmosphere, great gym, quality instructors, great athletes. Steve, thank you so much for all your hard work, for being a leader in your community, and for your work ethic. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, brother. You know, I really appreciate you having me, man. Have a good night.
All right, take care, brother.
Take care, bro.